Here we go. Hey, good evening. Today episode of Cruising with Phil. My name is Phil Cruz, and my returning guest from last week, former Ward candidate of Ward 15, Sheena Sharp. How you doing, Sheena? Thanks for coming back.
I'm doing fine.
Great.
So as you know, what I really want to do is interview you.
You're going to interview me? Oh, great.
That's what I said. That's what you said yes
I
to.
thought you misquote the words when you wrote it. Go ahead. All right. Don't put me on the spot.
The thing is that I'm not only a candidate for Ward 15, I'm a candidate for the Green Party for Don Valley West, which is Ward 15.
I heard, yeah.
And I'm hoping I'm going to put my name forward for the next election and probably the one after that.
For what? The Green Party?
The Green Party, yeah.
Wow, it's great.
And so partly I have a very firm belief that climate change is the biggest issue of our time.
Yeah.
And I took in 2008, like I'm an architect and I own a small firm. We're 7 people. And in 2008, so 15-year anniversary this year, we focused everything we did on low emissions buildings. So we've been building our skill set, we've been doing that. And it's really been my frustration that we can't, our little merry band of anarchists, as one of my employees says, we can't really make a difference. You know, the politicians have to make a difference. So that's what I think. But at the end of our last interview, you said something different. So I want to understand, like I've been in this, my head has been in this for years. So what do you think about climate change? What do you think is true?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you all these groups that come out. I don't believe in a lot of these groups. I believe in some groups that really stand for climate change, but for profit with the government, I don't believe in that. What I think about climate change, it's essential. It should have been done way before 2010, from what I'm reading. You know, I got to tell you something. When I was in the Navy on the ship, we recycled everything. I knew about recycling way before you got recycling.
Yep.
The Navy has strict rules about dumping things at sea. If you don't have a septic tank, it's illegal. You get charged big time. And if we come alongside it with our ship, because the ships don't have portable potties, septic system, we cannot go on the ship except for number one. We have to go off on the boardwalk for anything else because of the septic tanks. So in the Navy, everything we get in the food, the folks have it down packed. Nothing is wasted. Everything is recycled, from food to soups to everything. There's nothing recycled. Nothing's wasted. So I was recycling. I was recycling way back in 2008, 2009. The word recycling. Remember this bottle? It came my little logo. Remember the triangle?
Yeah.
So that makes me laugh. I'm going to tell you, that makes me laugh because I remember this. This is embedded in our system. Recycle, combustible, recycle. What was that? 30 years ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah. Do we recycle them? No.
And now what? Now we can't get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like in all the Navy ships, everybody, people don't know, but all around the world, it's illegal to dump anything at sea. Meaning if we're using a washroom at sea, you can't just dump it at sea, just like other ships. Before they get with it, even like usually funny, a lot of cruise liners dump their things at sea, and people don't know that.
Yeah.
And that's illegal, you know, because who's gonna see it, right?
But that's really interesting because a ship becomes, like there are people who say that the planet is a closed loop. It's kind of like a Navy ship, right?
Yeah.
So nothing leaves. But our economy is an open loop. We believe in continuous growth.
Yeah.
We dig stuff up over here, we use it for a while, and we put it in a hole over here, and that keeps moving. And at some point, with billions and billions of people, like I have very good friends who say, well, Sheena, like the impact of people is way too small. Like in the ship on an ocean. So you dump a little bit of sewage here, you dump it, like, is that really going to make a difference?
Oh yeah, it will make a difference.
Yeah. So at some point it starts to make a difference on the planet too, right?
people ask me about why are all these ships leaking oil, these tankers. Well, I've been on these ships myself personally, and you want to, I don't know, different countries have different rules, but their inspections are like way below standards. I
Yeah.
was on a tank. I was actually on a tank before it leaked 3 years later, and this
Okay.
tank, the bulkheads is supposed to be a certain width,
Yeah.
distance, and they have all these rules got to go by, temperature, climate. Anyways, these bulkheads on these old tankers are like supposed to be this thing.
Yeah.
3 times they get worn down. When I was on this tanker, it was about this thin. And that's why these things
Okay.
leak. These things leak. People learn that metal deteriorates through time. That's why
Yep.
that's what Canadian ships are known for painting the ship to keep the metal intact. Basically, that's a joke there. But yeah, it's just a lot of people go, why are these tankers always, and really, I get it mad. It pisses me off when I see these commercials, but these Dove commercials, soap, the
Yep.
soap commercials, and they're cleaning the little duckies. They're saying Dove did our
Yeah.
environment. I said, what? You're trying to claim that you're cleaning the little duckies? Well, how about you stop doing the tankers, get a proper inspection, upgrade your systems, and stop leaking?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they say it doesn't. And people, no matter what people see on TV, they cannot perfectly clean up that area that's contaminated, no matter what. Even they got the nets around there or whatever they use there. There's no way you can't clean everything up all the way. They won't. I wish they would put the stats of how many fish die of each species in that contaminated area, and they don't. They don't put that. Why don't they put that? They don't put it. You know why? Because they're gonna have people mad at them. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned you think some groups are honest, but you don't think the government is, but you didn't mention fossil fuel companies.
Oh, fossil fuel companies. You mean like recycling fuels?
No, I mean like Suncor and the large fossil fuel companies that are selling us gas.
Big waste. They want. They think they're saying they're going to go economy wise or fuel wise or eco friendly. It's all bull. It is. You think a $1 billion company like that is going to convert and lose money? No, it's not going to happen.
But what I think is that, well, a bunch of things, what direction to go in. I think that they're behind the Freedom Convoy. What do you think?
Definitely behind, Well, I'll give you another example. 80 countries, I think it was 80 countries signed the, I did a video. I forgot the whole term. It's a whale protection environment. I forgot, it's 3 words. I forgot. I wrote it in the email. 3 countries withdrew because they didn't want to meet the guidelines, the protection of whales, right? And one of them is the United States. Alaska is one of the states. Alaska, US.
And
right?
Japan.
And what's the other was Sweden, or I wrote it down.
Okay.
For not remembering. But anyways, they withdrew. So Japan's reason is because they feed their children medicine, and it's part of their curriculum of school to be this certain parts of the fish, whatever, for the soups or whatever. We're all this. Really? Go buy some Campbell's, buddy. You're gonna kill the environment. Jeez.
But I don't care if all the whales, we're going to use them until they disappear because it's part of our curriculum. Like, why would you do that?
No, it makes me that we still learn from nature. We learn every day from nature. People say, oh, how do whales have echo communication? We studied in the Navy. How does a whale know? I told a whale story. I don't know if people believe the story. I did a video a while back. My favorite animal stories. I was in the West Coast. We're down at an ASROC is a weapon in the ship that you got to repair once in a while. It's a vessel thing, anti-missile. So we're the 5 of us down in the water in the West Coast where all the orcas and the whales are, right? So I was like by myself. They're all going for lunch. I was in the water with scuba gear up by myself. That train of thought. You go like, and I love whales. I said just at that time, I said in my head, gosh, I love to touch a whale right now because I knew they were in the area in the distance.
Yeah.
So I'd love to touch a whale right now and just like right there, right in front of me, 5 feet right there. I mean, this thing's big, and I'm like, excuse my language, shit my brakes, like what?
They're huge. They're like a school bus, right?
But it just happened, just like like a train of thought. I just like that, it's like I said, can I have a beverage? Somebody give me a beverage, like that. So this thing, I said, I'm like, and they're all on the ship looking down, right? See what's going on, right? And they're getting their weapons ready. And I said, okay, if I'm gonna get killed, I'm gonna have one chance to do this. I'm gonna touch a whale. So I put my hand out, and I can see his eyes. He's looking at me, or she's looking at me, right? The eyes. just looking at me and just look at me like this as I put my hand up. I'm like real, and I put my
Yeah.
hand way up. And you know what? I tell this to people, I'll never get over a feeling such serenity and tranquility in this animal, this mammal,
Yeah.
right? And I put my hand, and she looked at me, or he, and as soon as I took my hand up, gone back on the water, it's gone. You know, that was my most favorite animal story. I told in the video during the election. I said, but you know what? How did that happen? People ask that. How did I have to think that? And that just that moment right there, not even like 5 seconds right after, you know?
Okay, but Phil, so if we've got this, if climate change is a big deal and you think it is, and you ran for mayor, how do you think this is affecting the city?
Well, first of all, they got to get some rules. They got to make it a, I know in parts of Europe, now with all these buildings being built, you know, they're saying they're using certain materials and all that. Why not?
Yeah.
I can't remember, 3 cities or more than that in Europe have a bylaw, a law that you cannot build anything unless you meet all the standards of these rules of these ingredients. I think ingredients, every tool, even down to the nail. And the law is if you don't meet the curriculum of things that are all economy-wise, energy efficient materials, you know, if you even want one nail, you cannot get the permit to build, just like that. And that should be here. It should be here.
But we build we add maybe 3% to our new buildings every year.
It's all
But
junk.
but we need to get 50% reduction in 8 years.
But there's
It's not going to be new
it's not gonna
buildings. It's
happen.
not going to work. Like,
No, it's
think
not.
about your ship metaphor. Why is it not going to happen?
No, you know why? Because they signed that thing in 2015. We talked about it in the election during debates. 2015, they signed that agreement to meet 2030, the date, and then 2040. They're not going to meet 2030. I'm telling people that they're all these. That's what these.
Yeah, but why? Why?
Because they didn't act upon it when they signed it. Even
Okay,
sorry.
how about this? So most of our emissions in Toronto, it's just over 50% building heating,
Yeah.
and then the rest is vehicles, okay,
Yeah.
in the city of Toronto, where you want to be mayor, where you're going to run again for mayor, right?
Are you pulling my liquor? No, go ahead.
So just over 50%. So if we like making a building energy efficient is really hard. And the buildings that are already built, we've already paid for that, right? We've already emitted what it took to make the nails, to make the glass, all of that, okay? So all we have to do is it depends, like if you're, what kind of building do you live in?
Just a regular apartment building, just a
Apartment building. Okay,
10-story building.
And you've probably got a box that hot air comes out of. And they
that's the radiators, the old man.
Oh, you have a radiator. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't even control them.
There's a boiler somewhere in your building.
Yeah, when it works, yeah.
A big boiler. Okay. It's probably gas fired.
Oh yeah, it's that. Yeah.
So when it dies, they take it out and they put an air source heat pump in instead.
Yeah.
And guess what? You have just removed eliminated the emissions of your building.
Yeah.
You've just gone to like the emissions that are on the grid, which Doug Ford is making worse, but that's another issue. We're talking about the city right now. So and you know what? Boilers don't last that long.
No, that's a good question.
They last maybe 16 years. So 50% of them are going to die in the next 8 years.
We just talked about it in the news article.
Yeah.
It's going to interrupt you. So what are we doing? Okay, what are we doing now? Let's get it done. Like, let's invest in that before they all die down, these boilers.
You know, invest in it. We have to think of the money that we spend collectively, right? So when your boiler dies, when your whoever owns the building that you live in, when it dies, the checkbook is already out, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's freezing. So you're already going to spend a chunk of money. So it's really a little chunk, top up. And other cities in North America are passing bylaws that say that you cannot replace a gas boiler with another gas boiler. You have to replace it with electric heat, which if you go to a heat pump, you get 3 times as much heat for 1 kilowatt as you would with electric resistance heaters. Like we all think about the like baseboard heaters, not that. We can do better than that.
Yeah.
And so that's what it would take. Like this house that I'm sitting in right now, I own this house. It's got apartments in it, but I own it. When the furnace died, the guys, I won't mention their name, but they show up. It was like a fan belt. I'd been trying to fix it and like making it work for like jimmying it here and there. And so they said, oh, $8,000. I said, are you kidding me? I can get a heat pump for less than that. I threw it out, cut it into pieces, put it out on the street, got a heat pump. So yeah, sometimes I have problems because when it gets really cold, I need a backup heater, electric resistance. And for some reason, it's not working perfectly right now. I got to fix that. But I'm, my contractor didn't believe me. He said, when it got really cold after he installed it, he phones me and he says, Sheena, how's the hamster wheel doing? And I said, Jason, the hamster wheel is great. Like we are warm. So it's possible. We can do it. We just prefer not to. And we think, for some reason, we think that because it's cold in Canada, we need gas.
No, I've asked a question. Can you tell me, you say you switched from gas to electric. Can you tell me how much you saved by that, just by that putting in and so it's so time frame, whatever? Can you just offhand?
I didn't save anything.
No.
And now I would, because there's all sorts of people in the news saying, oh, you wouldn't believe what my gas bill is. My electric bill hasn't moved, right? It is exactly where it was last year and the year before.
Yeah.
So, because gas is an internationally traded commodity. So those of us working in the industry, when they started fracking, which causes a huge amount of problems, right? It causes explosions and earthquakes, and it can contaminate people's wells. So, that lady in Alberta who was lighting her drinking water on fire.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I know. And these kinds of things. So fracking, when they started fracking in about 2008, 2009, the price of gas went down. And gas is subsidized, right? So now the price of gas has gone up and people are saying, if I had it now, I would save money. But the other thing I did for different reasons, because this house is just over 100 years old, leaked like a sieve, original windows, very quaint, single pane. The wood frames had shrunk. I could actually put my fingers in holes and feel the outside air. So we got rid of all those triple pane windows. So now I reduced the energy use of the building. I put insulation all on the outside of the building. So I reduced the energy use of the building by 2/3.
You invested the money, then extra money getting all that work done, and now you're saving the money, or you're saving.
I invested it, but it wasn't only about, the problem with energy efficiency is it is really expensive. Just like if you took a perfectly new boiler out and put a new one in, like you bought that boiler 3 years ago, you expected it to last another 13 years, right? You've lost money. You spent all that money, you only got 3 years.
Yeah.
So when something fails is the right time. And the other thing is the house is way more comfortable. And I live very close to the crosstown construction. So it felt like some nights, like didn't have air conditioning. Heat pumps, by the way, are handy because they not only heat, they cool. Mine is not very strong, but what the hell, it's good enough. So, because I didn't have any air conditioning before, so now I have air conditioning. But I could not hear the noise of the construction anymore because triple pane reduces noise. Like it's so there's a lot of other benefits, right? That you need to think of, just being comfortable, no drafts. I have an ERV that takes the warm, stale air and replaces it with like cool, fresh air comes in and the heat gets exchanged. Right. So I get fresh, hot air. So, but this is required in new buildings, right? It's not required in old buildings. So But these are the sorts of things that if we want to, there's work for carpenters, there's work, and the furnace guys, they're not going to be out of a job because it's the same trade, right?
Yeah, we need more guys.
They just say, oh, instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. They have the skill set. They know how to do
They
it.
need more guys to train to build the.
Yeah, but they already have most of the skills. You need a little bit of training, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
already have most of the skills. So it's not like
I got a good one for you.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people don't know this one. The Catholic churches, Archdiocese of Toronto,
Yep.
they now come down. All these old lights and all these Christmas lights, the old sparkles or icicles and all, the old ones. They now come down that they've made it a law that every church has to replace all their lights with LED.
Yeah, of course.
And you know what? They took a church, for example, it was 6 point something regular lights. It went down to like 2 point something.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So that's all the churches. You know why? They said it's too expensive. You picture my church. I just decorated one of the churches I go to.
Yeah.
5 trees, lights. Each one has 1,000 lights. Old-fashioned lights from 20 years old, right?
Yeah.
And they still work. But then you got the lights around the church, inside, all these lights, the lights on the ceiling, all those are all have to be replaced. But the thing is, a lot of these churches have these groups, and I know this, and they're very sticklers about sentiment. Well, they're our family lights and all this. But you know what? The church has said no. Either replace them by next year or don't have any Christmas lights. Right? And that's amazing. I think that's really good. Not a case of the saving hydrant, but just also.
It's really good, but it's only. Lighting is only about 15% of our problem.
But still, at least it's something, they're doing something about it, which is good.
It's no. It's like a ship. You have a closed loop. You have so much space. It's 100% or nothing. And we can do it. We're just choosing not to.
Did you watch that? Sorry, did you watch that? I watched that documentary of the Mohawk College, how they made that building. Did you watch that?
No, but I know the architect who did it.
Oh, you did?
And so we've done some presentations together.
Yeah,
so I haven't watched the documentary, but I know the building. I understand what you're talking about.
You haven't seen the documentary? You know this guy?
Yeah, I know the building.
I don't know. I watched it 3 times. I was like, and I wrote down all the details about all the supplies and everything. I just went there. It's just amazing. But then I got a lot of rebuttal about, it's expensive. But I said, why do they like have the old buildings? Take some of that and replace. There's too many old buildings. Like this building has to be redone, right? They waste. I'll give you an example. The thermostat on this building is outside. So when it's cold outside, it's cold in here. When it's hot outside, it's like an oven in this building, honestly, And what's funny is, and here's a good example. This building is so badly insulated, not properly insulated. So like in my apartment here, I have 3 heaters because it's so cold. The heat coming out of the radiator is not enough.
So you're already on electric heat.
No, I'm in the old building. I've been here many years, so I don't pay for electricity. But now the new tenants, you're wasting. I asked about 50 people live in this building. They all have electric heaters, right? And they use it for the wintertime. So that's wasting right there because of the boiler system, right? That's an example right there. One example of bad radiator system not working properly. They got all 4. They said they got all 4 boilers working. That's what they say, but I don't believe it. But I'm just saying that's old standard building. Thermostats on the outside. A lot of these buildings have that.
Thermostats, bad windows,
bad windows like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. So what government don't you trust and why?
You mean which government? I don't trust them all.
Okay.
I don't trust them all. No, I think they're all. They say this thing, 2015 we signed this. Nothing's done. And I watched some of the Leighton's documentaries and all as well. I'm saying it's all, I'm not going to be mean, but I'm saying it's all like sugarcoating to appease the massive climate control, people like us, like you.
I agree with you completely. I think the liberals.
I don't trust any. I work for the government. I know what they're like. I know what they're not behind. I know what's going on behind doors.
Which government do you work for?
What's that?
What do you work for? What do you do?
Well, I work for armed forces. So I work for all levels of government.
Oh, but do you still work for them? No.
No, but I'm still obligated to them and all that, no matter what.
Okay.
They're like, but I'm just saying I know what they're like. And like all levels. I mean, I'm not need nothing bad with it, but it's all paperwork. Okay, you just mentioned about the old buildings. Why can't they invest the money to replace those boilers with pumps, right?
What they have, the government has to do, like, they have to create a market.
They
So they
do.
have to say, no more gas boilers will be installed. And then everybody, all the people who make heat pumps will say, oh, there's a market, maybe we should do some research. Oh, now we need a supply chain. Oh, because now we have to train people. The government is doing it backwards. They run training programs, but people get trained and then there's no business. Like,
Yeah,
that's stupid.
you just said exact word right there. Market. There's no market for it. They don't make it
But
available.
we get a market because the fossil fuel companies who are flooding our news spaces with misinformation. So nobody really knows what's true and what's not true. And you're right, it doesn't help that the government, we're the only G7 country whose emissions are going up. And the federal government, they change, the base date is supposed to be 1990. They change it to 2005 because then it makes it look better. And then they say, oh, we're going to be 40% below. But no, you need to be 50% below 1990. That you can't just say, and then you can't just say we're going to change the start date. And then they didn't even meet that, as you say, they didn't even meet their own goal. But the really sad part is we can do it. They want to do everything. They say, oh, energy efficiency. I'm not saying it's bad, because if we do energy efficiency in 2050, we will be using less energy, which is really
Yeah,
good.
but it's all, excuse my language, it's all bull. These companies make billions. You think they want to downsize?
Exactly.
Oh, wait, hang on. The government caters these companies because these companies invest in the government and all of the government.
Yes.
And that's why they don't want to. They're not okay. You think what ACO or whatever? What's going to be mentioned? What is another one there?
Suncor?
Yeah, you think they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna be economist, we're gonna be gas efficient or energy efficient, but we're gonna lose billions of dollars. You think they're gonna do that? No, they don't want that.
They don't want that. And they have flooded Alberta. So Alberta thinks they're just squeezing the last dollars out of Alberta before the
Because they know
whole
it's coming. They have
scheme
that's why
dies.
that's why they raise all these prices of gases. You know, when I see when they say that they raise the price, I always say, you know what? They're desperate. They're trying to get all the gas money in before they get kicked out. Face it,
Before they get kicked to the curb. But and
lose.
so yeah, exactly.
That's why I don't trust any level. I don't trust the government because not against I don't like them and I work with them. It's because they don't want to go all the way. They're investing in these companies. They're paying for to use all their gas stuff and they're wasting, and that's what it is.
Unless Doug Ford, what's the first thing he does when he comes in? He cancels all the renewable energy. Okay.
Yeah.
Then now he's building another gas-fired electricity plant. And so the idea was we have some gas-fired plants. We're going to wrap them up. We're going to take Darlington down, refurbish it, put it back up again. I think it's Darlington. We were going to do that. Pickering, maybe Darlington we just did. Can't remember. But we're going to take one of our nuclear plants down, refurbish it, bring it back up. And so we were going to stay at about 5% of carbon, right? And the renewables, which are cheaper than gas right now, the renewables would slowly fill it in, right? Not Doug Ford canceled all of that. Yeah. And so you have them doing that. And then you have the federal liberals setting targets that are not sufficient and not even meeting their targets, and then just diddling around the edges, right? So they make a big splash. They say they're going to do this. And then every legislature has like the law and then it has the regulations on how the law will be implemented. And there's loopholes in the regulations, right? And so this is why I run for the Green Party, not because I think they're going to win, but because I think someone has to stand up and say it. The king has no clothes. Like, we have to say this. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, how many of our kids are going to survive, right? Yeah. Like, this is craziness. And the part that is really sad for me is we have all the technology we need. Forget about Bill Gates. He is also full of shit. Like, he says we need new technology because he wants technology that he can patent and that they can then, same kind of choke point capitalism, they can take over, right? Heat pumps have been around forever. You don't need You can't control the patents, right? And so, but we have everything we need and it's out there and people are making it.
You know,
So
you know what these guys are? You just said the word Bill Gates, all these people. I call them economist con artists. They say
yeah,
stuff, they say these speeches, they go around the world, millions of dollars to get paid to do speeches, propaganda, but nothing's done. It's all,
yeah,
it is. I know that.
it is.
It is all hype. You know,
Yeah, but you know what? Even
Doug Ford cares about the economy, about, being the green economy. He doesn't give a crap. He doesn't give a crap. Right there, example.
yeah, but I know, but even then, the only chance we have is government.
Is what?
As much as we both know how sometimes it doesn't work efficiently, but the only chance we have, and that is why you get the big oil companies funding the Freedom Convoy and like flooding them with misinformation,
Yeah.
because they are against Trudeau. And as bad and frustrated as I am with Trudeau, he's way better than Poilievre. Poilievre is just going to give away the shop, right? And they know that, and they know that someday he will actually do what he says he's going to do. There is that option, right? And there is that possibility. And so they are trying to dislodge him, like all of this information. And we really have to push, like the people who are at protests and things like that. I've gone to protests. It doesn't mean anything. It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, 10,000 people showed up with signs.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
What happened the next day? Zip.
No, zero, yeah.
Because the people who have their hand, you have to look who's got their hands on the steering wheel. Doug Ford has his hand on the steering wheel. Justin Trudeau has his hand on another steering wheel. John Tory has his hand on a different steering wheel. We have to try to get their hands off the steering wheel. Like it matters, not voting matters. You know as well as I know. The latest trick is like the municipal election. It was like it wasn't even happening. Like you knock on doors and people are like, "There's an election on." And so, because there was no hype, there was nothing in the news.
No, it's all media control. We all know that. Everybody knows that.
Because less people show up. But you know what? It's all media control. But don't just say that, because I know so many people who are like, "Oh, we don't trust the mainstream media." No, you trust the lunatic media.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's all media control. The lunatic media is media control. The mainstream media is media control. Like you've got to really look at these things. And I do trust the mainstream media more. And I have a bunch of them, like the National Observer, totally on climate change. You know, I subscribe to the New York Times. They have a special deal for Canadians.
Yeah, I watch. Do you read the Montreal
$25 bucks a year or something. I subscribe. It's great. So, and also, the Globe and Mail and the Star and little amounts, and give money to the Guardian. And so you try to get that way. You try to get a bunch of different perspectives.
You asked earlier about these. I mentioned about these climate companies. These groups are all, some of them are just cons. I said earlier about Bill Gates and the whole thing being a con. Back to these groups again. I've been some of these debates, conferences, whatever. I see what they're doing, but some are really good. I can say a handful are really good. They actually read what they want to do something, but the other ones are just, it's like, I've got a cause. I need some money from the government to create that cause.
Yes.
Thank you. Let me get more people to debate. We have a 5 conference. I'm getting a hard. I'm having a conference. Give me some ideas. I like your ideas. I'll give you 10 minutes ideas. We get 10 minutes to talk. Thank you for coming. See you in the next one. Another hype. More money comes in. It's a cycle of con group, money given, group symbol, people gathered, conference, back on. I've been to like three conferences. They all talk on 10 minutes of talking, 10 minutes of chat. I gave all these good ideas, not one response, No,
I agree. And they're all competing with each other. And it's like
I gotta say, there are like, I can count 5 groups that are really good. They really mean it.
I would agree, but can you remember their names?
I do, but I'm not gonna say them on public. I get in trouble. I got another before I get. We don't the next session about 3 minutes. I gotta tell you another thing. But there's a church in North York. I think it's North York area it's called St. Gabriel Catholic Church.
Okay.
Check out the website. Their church was the old-fashioned church I used to go to. When they tore it down, they moved location. They turned their church into a fuel-efficient economy, energy-saving church.
Yeah.
You gotta check out the website and see what they did. They tried to present this for this 20 years, try to present this idea to Ottawa about what they did, and they saved so much money. And they use natural material. Like when you walk in the church, it's not your typical church. It doesn't even look like a church. When you can hear the water flowing and they got pumps in the bottom, like you said, your pumps. It's not no boilers. I don't think it's boilers. Yeah, but anyways, it's all fuel efficient, all natural material. It's the first church I think has ever done of its kind that they actually went green. It's amazing, right? So check it out, St. Gabriel Church. People watching on off Shepherd there. It's,
I will check it out.
Yeah, just things been on that. These are the little things happening around Toronto, like the church with the lights and all. This is just, I mean, it's not enough, but to start.
But you know what? But let's stop as Canadians saying, well, we tried. Like, no, goddamn.
Yeah, no,
we can do it. We can hit it. It's like the Navy. We can do 100% recycling. We just prefer not to. Like, it's craziness. It's just craziness.
I'm going to go to the, got 2 minutes left. You want to go to the next session right away? Cut it there?
Okay.
Okay, I'll sign off and we'll continue on and we'll just be back.